Merry Christmas, beloveds. I don't expect any of you to actually see this, and I may actually be a little early, but that's because, we are cooking breakfast. Um, the cinnamon rolls are done and cooling and getting ready to be iced, and the bacon is in the oven. It is going to be all carb all day, and that is Christmas, right? You should just eat all the carbs on Christmas, because Christmas carbs don't count. So, yeah. All right. Let's get to this. I know you can just see the ears. She's still sitting here. Today, I walk in the light of God's love. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And that is John 4:24. I, the Father of this universe, the Mother, the Supporter, the Grandsire, the Holy One to be known, the Word of Power. And that is from the Bhagavad Gita. The Tao produced one. One produced two. Two produced three. Three produced all things. And that is from the Tao Te Ching. Our lesson tells us that God is the Father, the Mother, the Supporter, and the Grandsire. It tells us that from the oneness of God proceeds the law, the essence, and the word. Then it tells us that God is spirit. Wonderful indeed is this conception of the union of all life, which Jesus proclaimed in the ecstasy of his illumination. I and the Father are one. All cause and all effect proceed from the invisible Spirit. We are one with the Spirit and cannot be separated from it. Our word has power because our word is the action of God through our thought. Power is. We use it. We do not have to create it. Let us seek to use the power of our word more generously with a greater idea of its beneficence, its abundance, and its availability. When we learn to believe, then our belief is increased. Receiving much, we shall receive more. Giving everything, we shall in return receive all. Let us be willing to die to the lesser in order to become resurrected into the greater. This is the true meaning of that thought that we must lose our lives in order to find them. Naturally, we must let go of ignorance if we would gain knowledge. We must stop walking in darkness if we would walk in the light. Today, I walk in the light of God's love. Today, I am guided and my guidance is multiplied. I know exactly what to do, exactly how to do it. There is an inspiration within me that governs every act, every thought, in certainty, with conviction and peace. Okay, well, there it is for Christmas. And one of the most powerful things he said in this thing, which we'll get back to it, is power is. We use it. We do not have to create it. And that's one of the things that I keep saying when I choose the mission, or the mission chooses me, especially when they're big ones. It's like we have all of the power at our disposal to use to do those missions, because it is coming from an inexhaustible source. But it also reminded me of a shaman that I met years ago who said we had to lose our mind to come to our senses. To walk through this world effectively, the most the best thing that we can do is do it with a balance of head and heart. And I think that we get so caught up in our minds that we forget to think with our hearts. And sometimes we get so deep in our hearts that we leave our minds behind and nothing gets done. So it really is about finding that balance between head and heart. So for Christmas, today I walk in the light of God's love. It is the birth of the Son. It is celebrating the birth of the Son. And that is the SON and the SUN. The days are going to start gradually getting longer. And this can be a glitzy time of year full of gifts, and it can also be a dark time of year full of waiting and sadness. And that's okay too. Because the time in the darkness is definitely a time for reflection, a time for planning, and a time for resting, which none of us are good at. None of us are good at resting. So that's the benefit of darkness, is resting. Resting, planning. Yeah. Okay, so God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. And John, that's from John, and I'd look it up and say, okay, so what do you mean by in spirit and truth? And I would say, if we're going to worship him in spirit, then we need to follow in God's spiritual nature, which is love, creation, peace, harmony, joy. That's how we want to worship him. We don't want to worship, or spirit, God. We don't want to worship God in, we want to worship God according to God's nature, not according to whatever problem we have on our plate today. I am the Father in this universe, the Mother, the Supporter, the Grandsire, the Holy One to be known, the Word of Power. That's from the Bhagavad Gita. If you haven't read it, it's interesting. It is definitely interesting. It's worth a read. It's worth a reread. I took a class on it in the Upanishads and just was blown away by the complexity of the Hindu faith. And I like that it's the Holy One to be known, which means that there's always something new to learn. I feel like it's a good day if I've learned something, even if it's a small thing. I mean, it's fantastic when it's a big thing, but those can be overwhelming. One little thing every day, that's my goal. So the Tao produced the one produced two, the two produced three, and three produced all things. And that's just, there is something sacred about the number three. In Catholicism, you have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Although if you look at the Holy Family, you have the Mother, the Father, Mary, Joseph, and Jesus. Again, three. I mean, there's Earth, Wind, and Fire. They made great music. In the Irish, the Celtic tradition, you have the Maiden, the Mother, and the Crone. There is a, it's it's the boy, the warrior, and the wise man, but I can't think of what the wise man's called. There's another one that includes a farmer for men. And we do live in a three-dimensional world, with time being the fourth dimension. And in the Tarot, the Empress, which is creative power, is 3. And structure comes at 4. Which is also time. Go figure. All right. Something to think about. This is my mind. I'm leaping from from stone to stone in the pond. Our lesson tells us that God is the father, the mother, the supporter, and the grandsire. Don't mind that. That means Tom opened the oven. It tells us that from the oneness of God proceeds the law, the essence, and the word. So there's our three again. Law, essence, word. Then it tells us that God is spirit. Wonderful indeed is this conception of the union of all life, which Jesus proclaimed in the ecstasy of his illumination. I and the Father are one. And if you do go back and read through Jesus' story, that's exactly what you see. Anytime Jesus performed, he started by proclaiming, I and the Father are one. It is the spirit within me that does the work. I of myself do nothing. It is the spirit within me that does the work. It's the same thing with healing. It's like you don't go to a healer to be healed. You go to a healer to be reminded how to heal yourself. The healer doesn't do it for you. The healer just reminds you that you have the power to do that. Oh, sorry, Cleopatra. That's what happens when we cook. We have a very aggressive fire alarm. All cause and all effect proceed from the invisible spirit. We are one with the spirit and cannot be separated from it. And that is exactly what the amazing thing is that we cannot be separated from it. We can create the illusion of separation for ourselves. God does not do that. God does not create the illusion, but we can do it. Or we can allow other people to convince us that we are separate. But it's not true. We cannot ever be separated from it. And spirit cannot separate because we are made of spirit. Our word has power because our word is the action of God through our thought. Our word has power because Our word has power because our word is the action of God through our thought, which is why we say God can only do for you what God can do through you. The mind that created a star is the same mind that you use. That is direct quote from Jesse. Power is, we use it. We do not have to create it. And thermodynamics tells you that too. Thermodynamics says energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can merely be transformed. Let us seek to use the power of our word more generously, with a greater idea of its beneficence, its abundance, and its availability. Let us seek to use the power of our word more generously. More generously. Because the more we use it, then the more we learn about it. The more practice we have with it, we learn the beneficence of it. We learn the abundance of it. We learn the availability of it. We learn in that moment we can stop. When you're on fire, ironically with the fire alarm, when we are on fire, what do they tell us to do? Stop, drop, and roll, right? Same thing with this power. It's like if you are in a situation and you need it, you stop, you drop, and you roll with it. You roll with that power. Because it rolls through you. It rolls through you. So, stop, drop, and roll with the power. It is always available. All right. When we learn to believe, then our belief is increased. Practice. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes permanent. Receiving much, we shall receive more. Giving everything, we shall in return receive everything. Here's that sentence. Let us be willing to die to the lesser in order to become resurrected to the greater. And And that's where it reminded me of that shaman. We have to lose our mind to come to our senses. We can't, if our cup is full, then there's no room for anything else. So if we want anything else, we have to be willing to pour our cup out and accept more. Or you could argue we could just get a bigger cup. Ernest makes that argument too. We could just get a bigger cup. This is the true meaning of the thought that we must lose our lives in order to find them. We must lose the life we thought we wanted and live the life that we have. And when we live the life that we have, then we can build it into greater and greater things. We can build it into an amazingly great life. Because we're not busy chasing after the things that we thought we wanted. We're doing the things that we are. Naturally, we must let go of ignorance if we would gain knowledge. We must stop walking in darkness if we would walk in the light. We rest in darkness and walk in the light. How about that? So, today, I walk in the light of God's love. Today, I am guided and my guidance is multiplied. I know exactly what to do, exactly how to do it. There is an inspiration within me that governs every act, every thought, in certainty, with conviction and peace. So that's your mission today. Our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to walk in the light of God's love. And that is an easy one. Because we recognize that in God's love is light, is peace, is harmony, is joy, is rest. So, I commend you to this day. Whatever this day looks like to you, take a little bit of time to put yourself at peace. If you are in a big, busy, chaotic household, go steal a few minutes and put yourself in the peace. And if you're alone, then put yourself in the peace and stretch out those senses and realize that you are surrounded by God's love. Because Christmas looks all kinds of different ways for all kinds of different people. I have a brother-in-law who's experiencing Christmas with a new baby for the first time. You know, his Christmases will never look the same again. And I also have friends who are going through this Christmas for the first time without somebody that they love. A whole lot of people in this country are, and this world are. So, do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. Today, put yourself in God's love. Stretch it around you and feel it holding you. Look in the mirror and see God looking back at you. Look in the people's eyes around you and see God looking back at you. And feel the love of spirit. And feel the love of your CLC family. All right, beloveds. Well, you heard my fire alarm go off, so that means breakfast is ready. My fire alarm hates my oven. I don't know what it is about my oven. All right, beloveds. I wish you a wonderful Christmas, whatever it looks like to you. If it is loud and chaotic, or if it is quiet and peaceful. Take some time to enjoy it. And if you haven't seen it, somebody, and I'm not sure who, because there's any number of us that have access to the page, pinned the Christmas Eve service to the top of the page. So please go watch the Christmas Eve service and have a candle ready. We had a whole lot of fun doing it for you, so please go enjoy it. All right. I'm quite sure Reverend David will be on with you sometime around 5. And I will be back with you at 9 a.m. All right, beloveds, do what you need to do to make it a wonderful day. And remember, today is an excellent day to open the windows of your soul and allow the breath of heaven to remind you that you live in heaven now. You are a beloved child of Spirit in whom Spirit is well pleased, now and always.